Hello, and thank you for listening to Citizens Speak today. My name is Garrett Martin. Thank you so much for listening. You can find me on Twitter at CITZSpeak. All right, let's hop right into it. We go to Burns, Oregon today, where a group of militiamen for the past couple of days have taken over a wildlife refuge. Social media, because the major news organizations haven't picked this up that well, or even at the start, they started hashtags like Oregon Under Attack and calling the group that has taken over the wildlife refuge a very wonderful name. They've been calling them Qeada. Just a wonderful name against these guys, mocking them because they should be mocked. These clowns, and I'll get to it here in a minute, have not thought this thing through at all, what they're doing. They have no idea what to do and how to do it. But the band of armed thugs is led by Ammon Bundy and his brother Ryan Bundy. Now, you may remember these guys, or even their last name, from the Bundy Ranch back a year ago or so, when Cliven Bundy, their father, didn't want to pay his taxes. And the government came to collect on their money, and the government was met with a militia led by the Bundys that pointed guns at the federal agents who had shown up to the ranch. Excuse me. Now, these militiamen, these thugs, these gang members, they're there to protest the incarceration of two ranchers, Dwight and Steve Hammond, that reported to prison this week on Monday. The Hammonds, they went to prison because they set fire to 130 acres of federal land in attempts to cover up their poaching. Now, they had been sentenced before, but on separate charges. These charges that they're going to prison for now are for the arson. The charges before were for the poaching. And from what I had read across different news outlets is that the Hammonds had basically rounded up a bunch of deer into an area and then just basically fired at will upon the deer, not actually aiming, not trying to kill them decently and like a good hunter would, but just trying to decimate and cause carnage on these deer. So the Hammonds are rightfully now serving about 4 years for burning 130 acres of federal land. And the Hammonds, what they did is they tried to gain access to the building for the reasons of getting evidence for their case. But instead, a fire was started in the building that they got access to, and we had the result of 130 acres of federal land being burned. I want to stress that it's not for the crimes before that they were convicted of. It's now for these crimes of arson. The other crimes that they had been appealed and had been dropped, and this is what's going on here now. But also part of the gang that is in Oregon is a man named John Reitzheimer. He's wanted for questioning by the FBI because in November, he posted a video saying that he was going to go to a mosque and he was going to shut it down, and he cocks a pistol in his video. So you can deduct from this that he's going to shut it down by force, that he may shoot this place up. He's doing exactly what he thinks that the Muslims are doing to his people. He's going to shoot them. John Reitzheimer is a former Marine, and he's very unpatriotic, and we'll get to the actions of why they're unpatriotic, especially John Reitzheimer. But he's also very anti-Islam. He had a Draw Muhammad contest a couple months back in the summertime outside of a mosque, and the thing failed miserably. And at one point, he even apologized to the members of the mosque, to the Muslims that were there who were counter-protesting him. He apologized to them, and he even shook their hands, and he said that he's sorry. So this guy, after this had failed miserably, he tries to start a GoFundMe campaign. And he goes, oh, well, I feel so afraid, and I think that people are out to get me and hurt me. So I need all of this money to hire security for me and my family. This guy who thinks that he's big and bad, who will actually go to a mosque with his gun and thinks that the Muslims are just going to cower beneath him. He thinks that people are going to come and get him. Nobody wants to get you, John Reitzheimer. Nobody cares about you. Well, except for the FBI, because, well, you're threatening to shoot a mosque and to actually hurt Americans, something that these cowards, these militiamen, aren't really being. They're not really being Americans. But we'll get to that here in a minute. Members of the mob, they've brought their kids to join in this rebellion. They've brought their kids to the wildlife refuge, and they're also staying in the wildlife refuge with them. The kids aren't allowed to go as they please. No, they're hunkered down there with the families, and it basically seems like the rebels here are hoping to prevent another Waco, as in the facility in Waco, Texas, that was just shot down. And there was about 30 people killed or so. And in there were even kids as young as 1 year old who were killed in Waco, Texas. Now, you know who else uses human shields? You know who else uses kids and hoping that people won't fire upon them? The terrorists, ISIS or Al Qeada, or even if you think that you're right on this, the people who are in Palestine that Israel is mortaring. People say that the people of Palestine are using kids as human shields. Well, that's the exact same thing that these traitors are doing in Oregon. They're using kids as human shields, hoping that the government won't fire upon them. Now, some of the protesters here, they've said that they've come there to die and that they're prepared to kill and be killed for this cause. Now, that doesn't sound like a peaceful protest. That's what the Bundys are saying, is that this is a peaceful protest. Well, I haven't heard too many peaceful protests that say that they're willing to kill somebody for this cause. Now, you can feel strongly for it, but not many peaceful protests say that they're willing to kill somebody, kill federal agents, or kill police officers for their cause. Now, some people will say, well, you had the Black Lives Matter protesters who said that they want to see cops shot. No, that was a rogue sect of the Black Lives Matter. And this is a rogue militia. This isn't all militias who are saying that the police officers should be killed. This isn't all militias who are saying that the federal government is wrong. This is a rogue militia built up of traitors and thugs and criminals who are saying that they're willing to kill cops. They're willing to kill Americans to get their goal. And if this was a Muslim group or if this was a black group who took over a federal building, this would have been over days ago. This is day 3 of this malarkey. But what we have is a group of white men and their white families who are basically committing treason. They're holding guns and weapons against the government, against the nation. And they're claiming that they're going to take this back for them. Not for America, not for the average people, but for them. They don't give a damn about you or me or anybody else. They want this land for them. And what they were wanting is actually to spark rebellion and have other militias around the country go take government land as well. Now, we had a history lesson a while ago, and what we had is there was a group of people who said that the government was wrong, and they broke off from the United States, and they said that they wanted states' rights. And what happened is they had lost. They had lost miserably. And they wanted to own people. Now, these militiamen, they're not wanting to own people, but they're wanting things just done their way. They're like a little child throwing a temper tantrum. That's all they are, just little babies. Now, the Guardian was taken on a tour around the compound, and they were shown the food storage that this group has. And the food storage included a cardboard box of apples and oranges, a few dozen pots of instant ramen, 24 cans of chicken noodle soup, similar number of cans of sweet corn, peas, beans, and chili, and 20 boxes of macaroni and cheese. Now, Almond Bundy and other protesters, they're not protesters. Let's get that straight. They're not protesters. Anytime I say that, just know that it's a slip of the tongue, and they're actually thugs. They're a gang. They're marauders, basically. They're treason. They're scum. But they didn't think this through. They've said that they are willing to stay there for years, for as long as this takes until their goals are accomplished. And their goals are to wake the federal government up and to stop stealing land from people, and also to free the Hammonds from the crimes that they didn't commit when there's enough evidence against them that they were found guilty. They want just outlaw justice. That's what they want. They didn't plan this thing through. They didn't think that the government was going to cut power off, and that's what the FBI is thinking of doing now. They're thinking about cutting the power to the building. So that way, sorry Charlie, there's no more heat, there's no more running water, there's nothing for you except for just a shack to sleep in. And guess what? Temperatures at night over in Burns, Oregon right now are about 18 degrees Fahrenheit. If they stay there till Tuesday, you will have people who will either get frostbite or darn near die, if not die, from exposure to the elements. Because what's going to happen is there's a snowstorm on Tuesday that's rolling in. And if that snowstorm hits, you can have sub-below temperatures. And the FBI is about to shut down the roads to this refuge. So, sorry, you're not allowed to drive your cars out of there. We'll arrest you. But what you'll have to do is just walk through the woods. And good luck making it there. You can either turn yourselves in, or you can try to slink away like a snake in the night. But why hasn't the sheriff been more proactive on this? Why hasn't local law enforcement actually cut the power to this place? Why haven't they blocked off the roads from this area? All the local sheriff has done and said, oh, hey, local people, please stay away. We don't know exactly what's going to go on, so just try to stay clear of this area in case of any danger does happen. The FBI should have been contacted and brought out there immediately. And I get it, there's some delay, and people think that it's because these protesters or these thugs are white, and that's why the government isn't really acting. That's why the news organizations aren't really acting. But there's some truth to it. If this was a Muslim or a black group and they took over federal buildings, the FBI would have been called immediately. The roads would have been sealed off, and there would have been no travel in or out of that facility that they're in. If they took over government buildings, we would have a completely different story on our hands. We would have media coverage left, right, and center. Everywhere you'd look, this is all that you would hear. If you go on social media now, if you're following some of the people who talk about the Qeada or Oregon under attack like myself or other people, you'll hear about it. But if you're looking at CNN or Fox News, there's hardly any coverage on there about what's going on. If this was a group of, let's say, Black Lives Matter protesters who had taken over a government building, or not to compare the two, but if there was a ISIS group that had taken over a government building, this would be a completely different story. But no, instead we have some traitors who are taking over a government building after not even exhausting any of the democratic options that they have. They didn't try to have a town hall with the government. They didn't try to have meetings with the president. They didn't try to have meetings with local government. They just go, nope, we got guns. We're going to make people cower in front of us in fear, and this is what we're doing. If you don't like it, we'll come and take our guns, and we'll shoot you down. That's exactly what they're saying. But to bring your kids into this environment, in your families, and hoping that people will take pity on you, how cowardice. These guys are absolute cowards. There's nothing more to them. And there's many people who actually sympathize with the Al-Qaeda and think that the Al-Qaeda is actually doing good work and that they have a just cause. I say you're completely wrong. If you think that holding up a government building and threatening to shoot police officers and federal agents in the head when they come on site is a good thing, you need to reevaluate yourself. All right, let me know what you guys think on Twitter. You can find me there at CITZSpeak or at SitSpeak. Let me know if I'm off my rocker, if you think that I'm right on, or if I missed something, if I'm way off the mark. Let me know. I want to hear you. All right, thank you so much for listening. Again, you can find me on Twitter at CITZSpeak. Thank you very much for listening.